Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me very carefully. There comes a point where the narcissist stops pretending to be human and starts revealing what they've truly become. These 6 signs will show you exactly when that moment arrives. If you've ever dealt with a narcissist, truly dealt with one, you know there's something profoundly off about them. I'm not talking about arrogance or selfishness. I'm talking about something darker, something disturbing, something that feels inhuman. And I want you to stay with me here because what I'm about to explain could very well shift the way you see that person forever. This isn't just psychology, it's survival. You see, narcissists don't just hurt you. They erase you slowly, methodically, and without a shred of remorse. And at some point something terrifying happens. They stop behaving like a person altogether. Their charm becomes a mask. Their words, weapons, and their eyes, those cold, unblinking eyes, start to feel like they're looking through you, not at you. That's the moment the line crossed where they've shed their humanity like dead skin. And if you don't recognize the signs, you'll keep trying to reason with something that no longer thinks or feels like a human being. Now, you might be thinking, come on, they're still human. They're just damaged. No. No. They're not just damaged. This isn't someone who's wounded and trying to heal. This is someone who feeds on your wounds, who manipulates your compassion, who studies your weaknesses like a predator watching prey. They calculate your every move not to connect but to control. And what's worse, they can be charming. They can be funny. They can even fake empathy long enough to suck you back in. But it's all an illusion, a survival strategy. Underneath that facade is a hollow space where empathy should live. There's no remorse, no guilt, no internal compass pointing toward what's right. Just a relentless need to dominate, to win, to drain others, and feel nothing about it. Now, here's the part that should make you pause this video and think. If you've noticed yourself constantly exhausted, doubting your own reality, begging for closure from someone who keeps dangling it like bait, it's not your fault. You've been dealing with a master of deception. But more importantly, you may be witnessing someone who's crossed a terrifying psychological threshold, someone whose humanity has been consumed by their narcissism. And the danger here is not just emotional, it's spiritual. Because once someone loses touch with their conscience, they're capable of anything. And if you're still stuck believing you can fix them or save them or love them enough to make them change, you're only feeding the monster that's wearing a human face. Stay with me because in this video, I'm going to break down the 6 most terrifying signs that prove a narcissist is no longer human. Once you know what to look for, you won't be fooled again. Not by their charm, not by their promises, and certainly not by their lies. You'll see the truth. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. They feel nothing, not even guilt or shame. And I don't say that lightly. Most people, even those who make terrible mistakes, still feel something deep down, a pang of regret, a flicker of conscience, a moment of clarity where they realize they've gone too far. But with the narcissist who has crossed a certain line, that human mechanism is gone. It's not just asleep, it's dead. They can betray you, lie to your face, watch you fall apart, and walk away without the slightest tremor in their soul. No guilt, no shame, just cold, empty satisfaction. You might think no one can be that heartless, but I assure you they can, and they are. And what makes it worse is that they know how they're supposed to behave. They've watched people express sorrow and remorse. They've studied the way emotions look on others, like a scientist observing test subjects. And they can replicate those emotions when it suits them. But it's always a performance. Behind the tears, there's no real pain. Behind the apology, no real remorse. It's all strategy. A script rehearsed for maximum effect. You've seen it before. You catch them in a lie. And suddenly they're sobbing, blaming their childhood, telling you how broken they are. And for a moment, you hesitate. You feel compassion. You soften. And that's exactly what they want because your empathy is their weapon. They don't feel what you feel, but they exploit what you feel. They study it. They twist it. And then they use it against you. That's not just manipulation. That's psychological warfare. What kind of person can sit across from someone they've emotionally devastated and feel nothing? What kind of person watches tears fall and only sees an opportunity to tighten the grip? It's someone who no longer sees others as real. Someone whose inner world is devoid of moral gravity. You can't reach them with logic. You can't appeal to their heart because that heart is long gone. What remains is a void, a place where emotion once lived but has now been replaced with calculation. And here's the terrifying part. They know they should feel something. They're aware they're different. But instead of seeking help, they double down. They tell themselves they're strong for not feeling. That emotions are for the weak. That guilt is a trap. And so every time they choose to suppress instead of reflect, to harm instead of heal, they drift further and further away from what it means to be human. You keep waiting for the moment when they'll realize what they've done. When it will finally hit them, and they'll come running with genuine remorse. But that moment never comes because it can't come. The machinery that produces guilt has been dismantled and you're left trying to negotiate with a mask, hoping to touch something that simply isn't there anymore. They mimic emotions to manipulate, not connect. And that's one of the most chilling realities you'll ever face when dealing with a narcissist who slipped beyond empathy. You see, they've studied people their entire lives, not out of love, but out of necessity. Because they don't feel like you do. They don't experience deep, genuine emotion. So, they watch, they imitate, they copy what looks like love, compassion, joy, sadness, but only as a means to an end. It's all an act perfectly timed and terrifyingly convincing. Think about it. They'll say the right words. They'll hold your hand with just enough pressure. They'll mirror your tone, your language, even your posture. You'll feel like they're in sync with you, like they understand you in a way no one else does. But it's all an illusion, a performance behind the facade. There's no emotional connection, no heart beating in rhythm with yours, just a carefully constructed version of humanity designed to get what they want. They'll fake empathy when they're trying to win you back. They'll cry when they're caught. They'll whisper, "I love you," with a gaze so intense, it disarms every defense you've built. But it's not real. It's not coming from a place of love. It's a calculated move on their chessboard. They don't connect with you because they care. They connect with you because they need to control you. Your feelings are tools. Your vulnerability is leverage. You might be thinking, how can someone fake an entire relationship? But that's exactly what they do. From the moment they meet you, they're gathering data. What makes you smile? What makes you cry? What wounds are still unhealed in you? They log it all away. And then they play the role you need them to play. They become your dream partner, your soulmate, your rescuer. Until you're hooked, until you depend on their validation to feel seen, to feel alive. And once you're locked in, the mask begins to slip. The tenderness vanishes. The warmth disappears. They grow cold, distant, even cruel. But only when they know you won't walk away. And when you finally do pull back, when you question their sincerity or call out their lies, they snap right back into character. Suddenly, they're weeping again, confessing how broken they are, begging for one more chance. It's like flipping a switch, and you're left stunned, confused second, guessing your own instincts. Because that's the game to keep you doubting reality. To keep you wondering if maybe, just maybe, they do love you. If maybe that version of them you saw in the beginning was the real one. But it wasn't. It was a crafted illusion, a baited hook, a lie wrapped in the language of love. And the longer you stay, the more you lose yourself trying to love someone who never truly existed in the first place. They enjoy your pain and feed off your fear. And no, that's not an exaggeration. It's a horrifying truth that many people don't want to believe because it shakes the foundation of everything we assume about human nature. We like to think that deep down everyone has some shred of goodness, some capacity for remorse. But the narcissist who's crossed that invisible, irreversible threshold, they don't flinch when they hurt you. In fact, they light up. There's a flicker in their eyes, a slight smile they can't quite hide. When they see you break, because to them, your suffering is a reflection of their power. You've seen it. That subtle smirk when you're crying. That eerie calm they exude when you're in chaos. The way they provoke you. Then step back and watch like they're enjoying a show. Because that's exactly what they're doing. They create emotional destruction. Then sit in the front row and watch it unfold. Not only do they feel nothing for your pain, but they enjoy the control it gives them. They enjoy the dominance. It makes them feel alive in the most twisted way imaginable. And don't be fooled by their fake concern. They might ask if you're okay. They might send a message or call after the damage is done. But it's not because they care. It's because they want to see if the wound is still bleeding. They want to reopen it. They want to measure how much control they still have over your emotions. Your fear becomes their fuel, your heartbreak, their trophy. This is not just emotional immaturity. This is cruelty with intention. They push your buttons. They trigger your insecurities. They say the one thing they know will cut the deepest. Not in the heat of the moment, but with precision. Like a surgeon with a scalpel. They carve into your psyche. And when you react, they call you unstable, overly sensitive, crazy. All while hiding the knife behind their back. You try to explain your pain to them, hoping they'll finally understand, hoping it will move something inside them, but it never does. Because your pain is not an inconvenience to them. It's entertainment. It's leverage. It's the thing that makes them feel superior. The more you crumble, the stronger they feel. The more you scream, the more amused they become. They don't just want to win. They want to see you suffer. That's how deep their emptiness runs. And the worst part is that it's often so subtle, so disguised that you don't even realize it at first. You think you're overreacting. You think maybe you're just too sensitive, but deep down your body knows. Your intuition screams something about the way they watch you, the way they seem energized after your breakdown. It tells you everything. You're not crazy. You're being emotionally fed upon by someone who finds joy in your suffering. And the more you expose your pain to them, the more you become their source of power. They destroy without remorse, then play the victim. And that's a cycle so toxic it can trap you in a never-ending nightmare. Imagine someone who tears you down with words, actions, and betrayal. Yet, when you finally stand up, call them out, or walk away, they flip the script. Suddenly, they're the wounded party. The misunderstood soul who's been hurt by you. It's a cruel and calculated manipulation that leaves you confused, doubting your own experience and questioning your sanity. You've lived it, haven't you? The relentless barrage of criticism and emotional cruelty that chips away at yourself. Worth the gaslighting that twists reality until you can't trust your own memory. The silent treatment that feels like a slow death punctuated by sudden bursts of charm designed to keep you hooked. And after every blow you take, when you finally gather the courage to defend yourself, they don't own up to the damage. They turn it around and accuse you of being the abuser. This is no accident. It's a sophisticated strategy. The narcissist thrives on control, and control comes from keeping you off balance, unsure of where the truth lies. By positioning themselves as the victim, they enlist others' sympathy and paint you as the villain. Friends, family, even strangers may start to believe their version of the story because it's compelling and emotionally charged. Meanwhile, you're left isolated, doubting your own voice, struggling to hold on to your reality. What makes this even more devastating is how convincing they are. Their tears are crocodile, their apologies rehearsed. They speak in a tone so wounded, so fragile, it's hard not to soften and forgive. Even when everything inside you screams to protect yourself. But every time you give in, every time you excuse their behavior, the cycle tightens, their destruction grows deeper, and your freedom slips further away. You begin to question your worth, your sanity, your very perception of reality. Were you really too sensitive? Did you overreact? Are you the problem? This is exactly what they want. Because a narcissist who feels no remorse also feels no accountability. They don't carry the burden of guilt. They shed it like a snake sheds skin. And in that shedding, they make you carry the weight of the damage instead. You deserve to see this clearly to understand that their victim act is just that, an act, a mask worn to avoid responsibility and maintain power over you. When you realize this, you reclaim your strength. You stop apologizing for standing up to someone who destroys without remorse. You stop giving your energy to a person who refuses to acknowledge the pain they've caused. And you begin to break free from the toxic grip of the narrative they've spun around you. But before you can do that, you need to recognize the pattern. You need to understand that the cruelty isn't random or accidental. It's deliberate. And that the victim role they play is a weapon used to confuse, control, and silence you. Once you see that, you can start building walls, reclaiming your story, and walking away from someone who never truly cared about the damage they left behind. They see people as tools, nothing more than objects to be used, discarded, or manipulated to serve their own needs. This cold, mechanical way of viewing others is one of the most disturbing signs that a narcissist has slipped beyond humanity. For most of us, relationships are built on trust, empathy, and mutual respect. But for them, those connections are transactional. Every person is a resource, a stepping stone, or a shield. Never a real human being with feelings and worth. When you're dealing with someone like this, it feels like you're trapped in a game you didn't agree to play. Your value is measured solely by how useful you are to them. Are you someone who boosts their ego? Great. Are you someone who provides them with admiration, attention, or favors? Even better. But the moment you stop being useful, when you fail to meet their demands or challenge their fragile sense of superiority, you become invisible, irrelevant, or worse, an enemy to be torn down. This is not just emotional exploitation. It's a profound dehumanization. They strip away your identity, your dignity, and your emotions, reducing you to a mere object in their personal agenda. And because they don't see you as fully human, they don't hesitate to lie, cheat, or betray you without a flicker of remorse. Their entire world, you, is built around control and domination, not connection or compassion. You might have experienced moments where their words felt like knives cutting deeper than any logical argument ever could, or times when their actions left you questioning your own worth and sanity. This isn't accidental cruelty. It's the natural outcome of a mindset that sees you not as a person, but as a tool to be wielded. And when tools are broken or no longer serve their purpose, they're discarded without hesitation. It's chilling to realize that the warmth you once thought you shared was always one side. That the kindness you showed was met with cold calculation. The narcissist doesn't crave genuine intimacy or connection. They crave power, control, and validation. And to get that, they exploit the people around them like puppets on strings, manipulating your feelings, your fears, and your hopes. This dehumanization also means they rarely form lasting, meaningful relationships. Friendships, family ties, romantic bonds, they're all just parts of their toolkit to be used when needed and thrown away when inconvenient. When you try to confront this reality, it feels like hitting a wall because you're appealing to a sense of humanity that they no longer possess or refuse to acknowledge. The damage this does runs deep. It's not just about broken trust or lost love. It's about losing your sense of self in a relationship where you were never truly seen as a person. You start to wonder if you're imagining things, if your feelings are valid, if you deserve better. And that's exactly what they want to keep you doubting, confused, and trapped in a cycle of exploitation. Recognizing this mindset is the first step to breaking free. Understanding that the narcissist's view of you as a mere tool is not a reflection of your worth, but a reflection of their brokenness. Once you see that clearly, you can start reclaiming your power and demanding the respect and humanity you deserve. Because no one should ever be treated like an object in someone else's game. They lose all sense of reality and morality, drifting into a dangerous abyss where nothing is sacred and everything is permissible. When a narcissist crosses this line, they enter a realm where consequences no longer matter, where empathy and conscience are completely erased. This isn't just about arrogance or selfishness. It's a terrifying descent into a state where their actions become unpredictable, ruthless, and utterly destructive. You can sense it in the way they move through the world. Detached from any real connection to others, operating with a cold mechanical precision that chills the soul. They stop caring about how their behavior impacts those around them. Lies become effortless. Manipulation becomes instinct and betrayal becomes a tool wielded without hesitation. The rules of decency and respect no longer apply to them because their reality is shaped only by their needs and desires regardless of the damage left in their wake. This loss of reality is deeply alarming because it removes the last barriers holding them back. Without a moral compass, they can harm without remorse, deceive without guilt, and exploit without limit. They become dangerous not just emotionally but sometimes physically. Their ability to understand right from wrong is obliterated, replaced by a relentless drive to satisfy their own cravings for power, control, and admiration. You might notice their actions becoming more reckless and erratic. They push boundaries further and further, testing limits because consequences no longer scare them. They might lie blatantly even when the truth would serve them better. They might betray friends, family, or colleagues without a second thought. They might exploit vulnerabilities with brutal precision. The escalation is frightening, and it often leaves those around them feeling helpless, bewildered, and trapped in a web of chaos they can't escape. What's most chilling is their complete lack of remorse. When confronted with the wreckage they've caused, they show no signs of guilt or regret. Instead, they deflect blame, gaslight, or double down on their destructive behavior. There's no accountability because their moral framework is shattered. They exist in a self-created universe where they are above the rules, above judgment, and above consequence. This shift marks a profound transformation. The narcissist is no longer just someone difficult or toxic. They have become something far darker. The person you once knew or thought you knew has faded into a shadow. What remains is a hollow shell driven by selfishness and cruelty, capable of inflicting deep wounds without a flicker of conscience. Understanding this is crucial for your survival and sanity. When you realize that the narcissist has crossed this boundary, you can no longer expect change, remorse, or redemption. You must protect yourself, set unbreakable boundaries, and find the strength to walk away. Because the deeper they sink into this abyss, the more dangerous they become, not just to you, but to everyone around them. This is the stark reality of dealing with a narcissist who is no longer human. They have shed empathy, morality, and reality itself. The only way to reclaim your life is to recognize this truth and refuse to be drawn into their destructive spiral any longer. Your peace, your sanity, and your future depend on it. Don't wait until the damage becomes irreversible. Take your power back now and break free from the grip of a soul that has long since lost its humanity.